Today I'm going to be looking at the movie First Man. This is the movie about Neil Armstrong's life, all about his journey from being in the NASA space program to being the first man who walked on the moon. It's based on a true story and a true biography of the man's life. This movie is directed by Damien Chazelle, who directed La La Land, which I was not a huge fan of, but it definitely had huge critical acclaim. He also directed Whiplash, which I love that movie. That was one of my favorite movies of 2014. This movie was written by Josh Singer, who also wrote The Post and Spotlight, both very political movies about the newspaper industry. And this movie stars Ryan Gosling, who is a great actor. He's been in tons of things. My favorite movie of his is Drive. That's a great movie. His wife is played by Claire Foy. There's also Kyle Chandler in this. Some of you might know him from Friday Night Lights. Love Friday Night Lights. Love that guy. And there's also Corey Stoll. Some of you might remember him from House of Cards, as well as the villain in Ant-Man 1. So altogether, we got pretty good director, pretty good writer, and a pretty good cast in this movie. So the overall story in this is pretty interesting. It's based on a novel by James R. Hansen, based on the true life story. And Neil Armstrong's story is an interesting one. You get to see his rise through the pilot program, applying to NASA, all the struggles he goes through to eventually get on that rocket to go to the moon. We meet all the other pilots and the NASA process that led to that initial Apollo 11 flight where they went to the moon. We see all the various failed flights, all the small steps they had to do, all the other missions they had to do to just test out various aspects of the journey. For example, they had to test out being able to dock a spaceship with this other lunar device and be able to dock it and connect it. So that's something that had to be figured out first, and it's interesting to see all those steps it takes to get there. I thought it was also interesting learning how many pilots died on this journey to creating this space program and how many pilots sacrificed their lives for this endeavor. Neil Armstrong, at least the way he's portrayed in the movie by Ryan Gosling, is a very quiet, reserved man, very in his own head, very introspective. He's not the most friendly guy, and he's very silent a lot of the time. Ryan Gosling plays the silent hero a lot, and he plays it well. In the movie Drive, he doesn't speak that much, and he's kind of this quiet, reserved guy, but he gets stuff done, and that's very much Neil Armstrong in this movie, and it's very much portrayed well. The wife character of Neil Armstrong in this, she's the one that really gets to shine and put more personality into her character, and we really see her try to hold the family together while Neil is often in his own head or away or out in space. I want to talk about the effects in this movie, and they are pretty good. The shots of space are very nice. I saw this in a regular movie theater, but if you go to IMAX, supposedly the movie stays in that regular film ratio, and then all of a sudden, once you finally go into space, it opens up and you see the whole screen, and it creates a very impressive picture. But in a regular movie theater screen, it still does look impressive. However, there are lots of movies that show space and make it look beautiful. Interstellar, Apollo 13, Gravity, 2001, A Space Odyssey. We have seen space shot beautifully before, so this movie is not really doing anything groundbreaking with regards to that. I want to go into one of my big negatives for this movie, in that despite the interesting story and all of that, it is boring at times. Now, when I saw the trailer, I was interested, but I was worried that there would be a lot of cockpit scenes really close up, just watching people hitting knobs and, bracing themselves while the rocket's blasting off. There's a lot of that. There's tons of that, just watching close-ups of people's face while they're turning knobs and stuff. And also, I was afraid there would be a little bit too much space porn in this, and there was. It's nice seeing space, but the scenes really drag on. It's like, okay, we get it. Space, it's cool. It's the moon. Nice, I guess. But, like, it goes on a little too long. It's a little bit the type of film that they would show in an elementary school classroom to teach about the moon landing, and then the kids would would drift off occasionally, and that's definitely kind of the feeling I get from this movie sometimes. And this is a 2 hour and 20-minute movie, so you can imagine how much padding there is of these knob turning and space porn scenes. Now, I know I was talking about some negatives, but this still is a good movie. It's an interesting story. The acting is good, and it is well shot. So I do recommend it. I'm going to give this one a 7.5 out of 10. I feel like when you watch this movie in movie theaters, it helps you get engrossed in the vastness of space. But if you watch this at home and you have these long, drawn-out space scenes, you might not be as captivated by it, and you might pull out your phone and you might start looking at the news and then tune back into the movie and wait for more exciting parts. So there is some of that, but still, I mean, this is a good movie. So I think if you're interested in the Neil Armstrong story, check it out. And if you're not, then maybe just go watch Interstellar again.